everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Innovate and Educate. I am Dr. Matthew X. Joseph, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Technology and Learning here in New Bedford Public Schools. And as we've been doing all year long, it's been my great pleasure to bring you an inside look at some of the work that we are doing around innovation in our public schools. And today, as you heard last week, when I talked about STEM education, we're going to dive a little bit deeper and show you what it looks like in the classroom. I am incredibly excited to have Brianna Jones here with us from Pacheco Elementary School, the STEM Educator. So thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Coming into the studio, you get to talk about your work. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
All right, good. So for those who don't know you or know your work, share a little bit about yourself, your path to Pacheco, and now I hear you're finishing up your master's in STEM education.
I am. So I have been teaching for the last 5 years, and in those 5 years I started off as a first grade teacher, and then I looped with my students and I went to second grade, and then the last 3 years I have been the technology and STEM teacher at Pacheco, and I've been at Pacheco for the last 5 years and I absolutely love it there.
Oh, awesome. Well, so last year I was the Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, and then this year morphed position into Technology and Learning, and that's kind of how STEM education is, that it is morphing innovation to create something impactful. So share a story with us where you've seen that firsthand.
One of my favorite stories was I had sixth graders and we were working on solar robots. So it was sunny, it was a nice day, so we built the robots and then we brought them outside. And one of our students, his robot was zooming around outside, and it was so much fun to see it working and see it going. And one of the other students, his robot wasn't working as well. He couldn't figure it out and he was starting to get really, really frustrated. But the student who had the robot that was zooming went up to him and he had said, "Hey, let's look at it together. We can figure this out together, but make sure you keep that original design. Let's see what's not working." And it was great to see them come together and form a new team.
Yeah, and I think from what you're saying is kids are talking to each other. They have their own thinking, and it created something impactful, as we said. And you have some things here, so whenever it works, feel free to share, show us some of the things, because we're talking about innovation, and you know it's in the show title, so it's definitely something we talked about. So how does STEM education enhance or really encourage innovation in students?
One of the biggest things I've seen is it really helps students to collaborate. It helps them to learn how to problem solve, and it gives them real world situations. So I've given them, we've worked on different STEM projects where I'll be like, and I've had them create a zip line. Okay. So my second graders just created zip lines. So I've given them a situation where we have to create a zip line and we have to see what works. I give all of them the same materials, and it's up to them to be creative too. So they're working together, they're being creative, and they're also seeing what works and what doesn't work. Not to mention we work on coding, and when we've worked on coding, the students are like, "I didn't know that I can have a job in this." They don't know that their video games are all from creating codes and writing them and all of that. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and one of the things, as you said, it's really cool to see. I love whenever, because I've been working with Pacheco, and I get to come into your room and see all these great things happening. And one of the things that I always notice is that students are working together, and they're collaborating, and they're really processing and thinking. So how does STEM education enhance that collaboration and enhance teamwork really in our education and in our elementary schools?
All students, including adults, we all have our own strengths, and with our own strengths we have something that we can help with our groups. So I've noticed that when they're working in teams, they're able to work together, and one student might be able to say, "Oh, well, this would work because I can see it like this." I've had students who feel more comfortable talking in a smaller group, and they have some really awesome ideas. It was just the other day that one of my students had a really awesome idea, and I was listening to that group at the time. I didn't hear the student, but the group did, and someone was like, "That's great, let's do it." So they were able to do that, and it worked really, really well in their group, and they it worked, and it was great to see. And then I also really like to be able to give my students that space to make mistakes, to try to learn from it, and they take it and they run with it, and it's great.
Yeah, and I think, having that productive struggle and trying, and, I love to talk about celebrating attempts. And through that, though, students have to have the skills to do that.
Exactly.
And I think that's one of the parts that I really enjoy about your work, and then the STEM in general, is that they have the ability to share their skills in a creative way. So talk a little bit about what that means to have these skills come out in a classroom.
So I really, in my class, I try to make sure that they know that they can make the mistakes and they can learn from it. We're all humans, so something that I'll tell them, I'll be like, I made a mistake today, and I'll say, I tried this and it didn't work. I'll either tell them I tried something else, or I'll even tell them like, hey, how can you help me? So they're learning these skills together to come together and really learn it, how to work together, but also know that trial and error is okay, and that's the best thing that they can do.
Yeah, and that happens right in the classroom. And I think
Exactly.
that's the part that really, it can tell, it excites you, it excites me. I know working with your principal, it's something she's very proud of in the community. So you bring that into the classroom. So we've talked about all the things they can do. What have they done? Share some of the projects that they have done, and there's this hands-on, real dive into the work class.
Absolutely. So we have done we cycle through 4 different types of projects. And with those 4 different types of projects, we have coding, we'll do STEM activities. I like to call them challenges. And then we'll do 3D printing, and we also work on simulations. And when we're working on all of those different things, they're working in groups, but they're also working with the students around them, and I'm totally fine with that. I say a noisy class is a good class. I like to be able to step back and just listen to all the great conversations that they're having. So the very first project that I have them do for 3D printing is they make a keychain or a bookmark.
Okay.
So I have this little thing right here. So this student, he made a little 3D printed, and he put the hole and he had his name on the top. So when he had done that, I told them, it's a bookmark or a keychain, whatever you want. The only thing you have to do is have your name in a hole. And he really went with it and ran with it, which was fabulous. I don't know.
So before that, I'm going to stop you for a second, because I know there's other things you want to talk about. They don't just punch this in and do it. They have to program some things. Like, what is the lead up?
So we use the website. The website is called Tinkercad, and on Tinkercad, it will give them different shapes. So he started off actually with just, I believe it was a skeleton's head at first. He added on the ears, and then he continued to add on, underneath there's even eyes and a mouth, and then he added on the sunglass. So he took his creativity to the whole next level, and I've seen him since, and he still has this.
That's great.
Yeah, so they put it all together, and they're just allowed to be creative and have fun with it. And then another student, I recently told him, you have your own island now, but you need a flag for your island. So another student, she created this, and on this she said, well, I'm Puerto Rican and I'm Dominican, so I want to put the 2 flags together.
Wow.
So she did half of it is the Puerto Rican flag, and then half of it is the Dominican flag. So she's going to go home and she's going to be able to paint this now, which is, I can't wait to see the end result.
Great.
Yeah, and then with our STEM challenges, I'll give them all the same materials, and when I give them the same materials, I try to keep it fair. So I'll say, and I give them a lot of things. So the most recent one was our little zip lines, and with our zip lines, I give them all the same things.
Was that this as well?
That's that too, with the wings.
Oh, okay. I like it.
So when I had given it to them, I said, it's up to you and your group. Whatever you want to do, because they had to create something that would push, we read the story Creepy Carrot.
Okay.
So I said, however you want to get the creepy carrots down, it's all up to you and your group. And they took it and they ran with it. And I love to see, hey, we should really try this, or, oh, maybe it needs propellers. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I just say, do it, go for it.
And yeah, and I think that's an environment that enhances creativity.
Yes.
And through that, curiosity. And I think that's one of the things that I see a lot in STEM as well, is that their students are curious.
Yes.
So what does that look like to really foster that culture of curiosity?
So I really think that to be curious, you have to try it. You have to know this might not work, and that's okay. So when we do that, I try to make sure that they know we all will make mistakes, but it's how we handle the mistake that matters the most. So when we do that, like I'll even show them, oh, I just made a mistake. Oh, but what if I try this? So I will show them that, and then when they're in their groups, they know, okay, well, if I try this, it doesn't work, I still have my group behind me that will help me, and we can come up with a new solution. So I tell them all the time, try it. See what happens. Try it. And they love to be able to try. They love to be able to do different things that sometimes they normally might not have the chance to. I know when I was younger, I didn't have the chance to try different things, and I knew that I had a brain that worked like that, where I could visualize things, and I knew, okay, this is what I have to do in order to fix it. But I didn't learn that until I was older. So now my students have the safe space to be able to say, let's try it, let's do this, but they're also learning how to communicate, which I think is huge for them, especially in their futures.
Absolutely, and you come from a classroom background. I think that's important, that to take that kind of philosophy, teaching strategy into a STEM classroom. And one of the misconceptions I hear a lot is that they're just going in and playing. So can you kind of dispel that they're not just playing, that they have this level of thinking, this level of computational thinking and processing? Kind of talk us through the thinking piece that goes into some of these products.
Yeah, so as I did come from the general education classroom, where I was doing all of this, and I was like, okay, it's easier for me to show them what to do rather than allowing them to try it themselves. So I've had to teach myself to be like, no, I have to take the step back and let them have a productive struggle. So when they have that productive struggle, they're working with their groups, so they're really working together. And my favorite thing to do is let them try it out. They are trying to see, okay, if I put this gear with this gear, will it come together, and will it make my robot move?
Okay.
So when they do that, they're trying to see what's going to work. They're not playing exactly, they're curious. They're trying to see, okay, let's try this, and maybe it'll work.
I like it. So you're talking about robots. What is this one that you have?
So this was the one that I had in my first story. So in this, they all had the same pieces, and I had told them I think there's 9 different robots that they can build within here. I said, whatever one you want, try it out. And actually, there were 6 groups working. Each group made their own, and they were all different. So it was really cool to see, like, well, one group wanted to build, like, it was a kangaroo robot. They were like, I want to see it jump. I want to see a robot jump. I've never seen that. So it was really cool to see, like, the robot jumping, and then you have one robot jumping, but another one is rolling on the ground. And it was just awesome to see, because they were like, I did that, it worked.
Wonderful. And of course you have your Red Bulldog. So talk us through the Red Bulldog.
So now our Red Bulldog, we are the Pacheco Bulldogs, and we do award ceremonies every month. So our Red Bulldog is for our classrooms, and we have classrooms that do really fabulous for the month, so they get to earn to have the Bulldog within their classroom. So I had created the Bulldog, and now it travels between all of the classrooms, which is awesome to see. And they're really excited, and now the younger grades also have the Red Bulldog, and they're able to see what they can create in my class now.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate you coming in and talking about science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM in our schools. So I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
Talk about the excitement that you see every day in your class when they're doing some of these projects.
Oh, it is so amazing to see their brains working in different ways. They're working with math, they're working with their reading in my class, but at the same time, they're being creative. And there's absolutely nothing that makes me beam with happiness more than seeing them work together and being able to have that space to try new things. They're learning about their futures. I have some students that have said to me, I can get a job in this? I'm like, yes, absolutely. So they're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I love it because they're learning new things in a new way that they're gonna use for the rest in their futures. They'll use it forever now. So it's amazing to see the work that they've done.
That is great. Well, thank you for sharing not only the work that you do in your classroom, now you share it with the community, because you know the heart of what we're trying to do with this show is to share, break down the walls, show the great things that are happening. So really appreciate you coming in, and I look forward to coming to your class and seeing all the great things, and I know working together on our future ready and creating a technology and innovation plan. So we'll have plenty of time to work all this great things into the work that we do for many years. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you all for continuing to tune in. We're going to bring you all sorts of great ideas, innovations from our schools and from the work that our educators are doing. And if you have ideas, feel free to share them with me. You can email me at mjoseph@newbedfordschools.org. I'd love to hear some of your suggestions, and I'll bring those ideas and information to you. So thank you. Continue to tune in as we bring you these innovative ideas, innovative educators each week here as part of Innovate and Educate. And remember, every big idea starts with a splash and it ends making a whale of a difference.